Auburn and Notre Dame can do that because they play. Notre Dame plays Michigan the first week. They play Stanford. They play USC. They play teams that are aspiring to the playoffs, and they can impact that in a unique way because they play multiple games against those kind of teams. So I think that's a very interesting dynamic
Facebook Live people
as we go into the season. So, but as you mentioned, golf, and I'll take my last few minutes here. The PGA Tour regular season ended on Sunday. Brandt Snedeker shot a 59.
Ridiculous.
The 11th sub 60 round in PGA Tour history, and by the way, was only the third to go on and win the event. He won the event with a 21 under score at the Wyndham Championships in Greensboro, and won the last regular season event on the PGA Tour this year. The playoffs start on Thursday in New Jersey. The top 125 players are in the field, including Tiger Woods, which always
moves the needle,
makes a difference in terms of ratings and
makes it interesting.
He is the needle, right? We've talked about this.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah, but not only that, but he's actually relevant. It's not like he's just in the field. He's 20th in FedEx Cup points and 26th in the world. He's actually made himself relevant as a favorite for the event. It isn't like 8 months ago we said, "Oh, Tiger's playing in San Diego. We'll see if he can make the cut." This is like, holy crap! He finished second at the PGA. He finished sixth at the British Open. He has 6 top 5s this year. I mean, this is a guy that all of a sudden has made himself relevant. He's also trying to make the Ryder Cup team. He's a vice captain already for Captain Jim Furyk. He finished, I think he ended up, 15th or 16th in the Ryder Cup standings. And the Ryder Cup standings are a 2-year standings. He didn't even play last year. He didn't even play until February of this year. And he got himself up in the top 20. The guy's a lock, okay? Jim Furyk's going to pick him for the team. And I think that's the lock. The question is to see how well Phil Mickelson can play to earn a spot. I mean, I don't know how you don't put Mickelson in either. The top 8 are incredibly strong. It's Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Webb Simpson. I'm missing a couple, but it's incredibly strong top 8. You got Tiger's going to probably in the mix, and you've got the other guys in the equation. Brandt Snedeker, who finished, I think, 12th or 13th, but he was injured last year, so he's kind of like Tiger in that he was injured. He points last year, missed 5 months. He wins his 9th PGA Tour win. He's in the mix. He's been playing pretty well. So you got guys like that. Bubba Watson's on the team. Matt Kuchar's on the team.
Dustin Johnson.
But you got some guys that DJ. Yeah. So you got some guys that Jim Furyk's have to look at. So if you assume, and I'm going to make an assumption, if you assume Tiger's on the team, if you assume Phil's going to make it just because of their history, and if you assume Brandt Snedeker played his way on the team by winning on Sunday, there's one spot left, and you got to just kind of wonder who that could be, and probably Furyk's going to wait to see who plays hot in the playoffs. He's got 3 weeks left to determine who that is, and so I think that's what we're probably gonna end up seeing on that. Because I can't believe that Phil Mickelson he won this year already. he's in the top 10 in FedEx Cup points. Can't imagine he's going to leave Phil off at age 48 and see it's probably his last, real shot before he becomes captain. Okay, because he will be captain very shortly, probably in 2022. And so we'll have to see. And so be interesting to see. But that's the story in golf that's playing out over the next 3 or 4 weeks. We've got the playoffs, and who's going to win that. I think a lot of people are going to look to see if Tiger can finally win another event. And so that'll be the storyline.
I know.
I
was talking with someone the other day. They said Kevin Na might be a guy to look at for.
Yeah, he's won
the Ryder Cup.
There's actually a bunch, right? I mean, and
Brent Snedeker.
I think Snedeker.
Yeah.
I think Snedeker probably punched his ticket on Sunday because the way he putts, the way he can play match play. I mean, these are match play events. Okay, so I think.
Can you kind of break that down for the listeners that don't really understand golf? Why is picking this team so important? Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, well, number one, the first three, the first four parts of the event, there's 4 rounds of golf, are team events, and it's all match play, even the singles, but it's alternate shot and it's also best ball. So it's team events. You got to find guys that can play well with somebody else in these team events, and it's very, very critical that their games match. And the way the U.S. has done it in the recent years, they put them in kind of pods of 4-player pods, and they play together. They pair off together, and they pair them in these events. And so, as a captain, you get the top 8 players of a 12-player team are based on points. You don't get to choose who you get. Those are your 8 players. But the other 4 players on your team, you get to choose, called captain's picks. Regardless of where they are, and it's your pick. It's your choice as a captain to pick them. And so they use a number of different kind of criteria to do that. And it's based on how well they play in this unique format, because this isn't the same kind of format that they play in week after week on the PGA Tour. They're playing by themselves in a stroke play format. And in the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup, they play in team format or individual format, but they play match play. So, a steady player that just shoots bars all the time isn't a great match play player, because you're taking who wins each hole. So a volatile player like Bubba Watson, the reason he doesn't win more than he does, he'll shoot a triple bogey on a hole. Who cares? That's just one loss on a match play event. In a stroke play event, it costs him 3 shots. So you look for players that can play in the event, that can meld with other players. And so that's why this is such an interesting dynamic.
It's winning holes versus
for Jim Furyk.
Winning holes versus winning strokes.
Low score, right. Low score doesn't matter. Now, obviously, how well you play matters, right? I mean, that makes a difference. But it's how you play and how you win. And so it'll be fascinating. As I cover golf, that I cover tournaments. I actually go to tournaments and cover tournaments. For me, I think Tiger's a lock. I mean, there's no, I don't think there's any way that based on his play the last, few weeks, that he won't be in it. I mean, I have a hard time believing that or thinking that. So that's one of four. And then you got three others, and I think it'll be based on how they play. Phil Mickelson traditionally has not been a good fall player. He hasn't played that well in Ryder Cup or President's Cup. He plays, but we'll see at age 48 how he does in the playoffs, because he's in the field this week, and we'll see. I think that might give him some renewed motivation. He missed the cut at the PGA, which didn't set him up well to make the Ryder Cup team. He had a chance to clinch a Ryder Cup spot and did not do well at the Ryder Cup. I mean, at the PGA. So we'll see. But
if he doesn't make it, it's not like it's the end of the world for him. I mean, like you said, you just have a captain seat coming up. If he wants it, he'll have it. But yeah, I think it would be disappointing to him. He's been on every Ryder Cup and President's Cup team since 1994. So and I know he's a bajillionaire. He's worth $300 million. And I know it's like, well, if Tiger can get over it, I'm sure he can. I think Tiger's going to just the way Tiger's playing. If I'm Jim Furyk, I want him on the team because he's playing really well. I mean, he finished well. He stood on the 11th tee at the British Open with the lead and finished sixth. And he charged at the end at the U.S. Open. And if Brooks Koepka had nerves of steel, Tiger probably would have won. And so, and by the way, Furyk, I would like to say Tiger did win.
Tiger Woods,
but
he kind of won it. But Tiger and Furyk were partners in many of the matches in the Ryder Cup. And so Furyk and Tiger are, they have a close relationship. I think Tiger's probably going to be named to the squad. We'll see how he plays. I mean, if he goes out Thursday and Friday and shoots 73, 75 and misses the cut by 5 shots, I'm not sure. But I'm not betting on that the way he's been playing. I mean, he's been playing, and he was in contention at the Bridgestone the week before the PGA. So he's been in the mix, and I think he's going to remain to be in the mix. And we'll see. My question mark right now is how well Phil's playing, and whether Furyk takes a shot on Phil at age 48, and this late in the season, whether or not his health can his stamina can hold up. And Furyk's the same age, by the way. And Furyk, by the way, finished tied for fourth this last Sunday at the Wyndham. So there's a lot of storylines going on here. Furyk's going, well, if I can finish, then maybe you can. But the difference is Furyk finished 148th in FedEx Cup points this year, and Mickelson's 9th. So Mickelson's had a really good year, and so that's why I think Woods and Mick. The reason I think that is because the top 8 are incredibly strong, and I think it's going to be Tiger and Phil and 2 other guys. And the way Sned's played this week, he's probably it. So there's one other guy that he's looking at. Now, I'm not in Jim Furyk's head. I don't know what he's thinking. I'm just speaking as a golf analyst, as I'm supposed to do, and as I've watched golf for many, many years. I think that's where this is going, and we will see now. If Phil stinks it up the next, and Phil is guaranteed to get probably all the way to the 4th round of the playoffs because he's 9th now. It'd be hard for him not to get all the way to the end. And so we're going to get 3 or 4 tournaments from Phil to see how he's playing. It's not like he's 101st and has to play well to get to the next tournament, he's going to be in it in the playoffs till probably the end. And so we'll get Jim Furyk will get a really good sample of his playing this late in the season. So we'll see how he does. Same with Tiger. Tiger's 20. Tiger will probably get to at least the third event. The way this works, by the way, is they start with 125 players. After the first event, they cut it to 100. After the second event, they cut it to 70. And then after the third event, the 30 go to the Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta, Georgia. And so, and they retain their points all the way through. So if you're ninth or whatever Phil is right now, you're already in. It's going to be hard not to get to, all the way through because he's got all his points already stacked up. Tiger's 20th. The first two tournaments have cuts. The third tournament, there is no cut. So you can have a couple of bad rounds and still play your way through. But for the most part, if you're not in the top 40 or 50 right now, your chances to get into East Lake are limited. You've got to win a tournament probably to get there. Okay. So the guys at the top 20 or so, they know they're getting at least to the third spot. And, and in fact, sometimes in the past, they've skipped a tournament, but they've changed it now so that they play 3 tournaments and then they have a break. So the guys and Tiger's committed to playing the first 3 playoff tournaments. So most of them play now because they get a break before the 4th one. So that's a little bit of a golf 101 there, playoffs 101. And I'm gonna sign off, Matthew.
Well, we appreciate it, Kevin.
We ran down all 5 tower conferences. Let's see. So I had Clemson the ACC, Wisconsin the Big Ten. I think I went Oklahoma in Big 12. I went Stanford Pac-12 and Alabama SEC. That's where I went. We'll see how that transpires.
And we're pretty close on that. I got I think the only difference is I think could be Georgia in the SEC. And no, I had Washington in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I had Stanford, you had Washington. That's right.
Yeah. But we both took Wisconsin in the Big Ten.
We did. I think this controversy at Ohio State's going to cost them a winner. So I think it's going to cost them eventually in that. Plus the strength of that side of the conference, right? I mean, I think that's going to be that half of the league. So, all right, man. We'll talk to you next week. Next week we'll talk non-conference schedules.
Yes,
that's
and
an
then
interesting topic.
You have your rankings done, and you'll be able to give the the diaper, or what do you call it?
My analytics.
The diaper or
my
strength schedule.
The toddler. Yes, all that. We'll go there. All right, man.
All right.
Okay, next week.
Kevin Crest, ladies and gentlemen. So, no, a lot of you been asking, what are you looking up at? Actually, I have a monitor there. And obviously, you see that's where I have the sound or the digital board. So if somebody called in, it's up there. And I have my Husker tumbler there. I've already spilt twice. Just got a soundboard and phones and computer. Just the type of stuff you want to spill water all over. What I'm trying to do is see the rest of my soundboard. It wouldn't let me click on it. There we go. All right. There we go. For those of you that are checking in on Facebook Live now, last week you guys didn't hear Kevin on the Overtime segment. He doesn't typically hang out for the Overtime segment. He is co-host of the show. So you will, if you listen to the live version or the full version, which you can, you can click on the website here on Facebook or in the section if you're looking on YouTube. I don't know exactly where you might be watching it. If you're watching the videotaped version of this and not the live version, to go to the website, the CHT on Sports. If you can't find it anywhere, it's literally right there. Yeah, just go there. I try to make things as simple as possible, putting them, up on the wall behind me, stuff like that. Yeah. Thank you for the DMs. And you can DM me. The handles for the show are up there again, the CHT on Sports, and I'm at Matt Long Sports. And no, don't call me on my cell phone because I will not answer right now. And I don't like reading my text. Nope, unless I have a scheduled guest. Nope. Sorry. All right. So a few things that we covered tonight. If you go download the Spreaker app, Spreaker, Spreaker. You can go to Spreaker.com, listen there. You can go to your App Store or Apple or Google Play Store, whatever where you get apps. Just type in Spreaker. They'll be able to, you'll get it's a little star. I could show you it. Do you have it? And download the app because you can listen to the full version of this show. So you can see here. I didn't really. Yeah, see that? It's just like that. And well, you can see it there. It's a little too hot. The camera, a little too hot. But yeah, it's a star. It says the apps is a star. It says podcast on it, and it says Spreaker below it. Pretty straightforward. But you can listen to the full show over there, unabated. This overtime segment that we do here is live there right now, as well as here on YouTube. But you'll get the full overtime version on YouTube and Facebook Live, as well as hearing it in the podcast version of the show. Now, we broke down the Power 5 conferences, which we'll get more and more into college football here as the season wears on. Yeah, I keep checking up here in case somebody wants to write in and leave a comment so I can respond. But the big thing I wanted to cover here in the overtime segment is actually this helmet rule, the new NFL helmet rule. It's been kind of a concern with in the league the last few years. It's really last decade. It's really come to attention of players, staff, the NFL that head trauma is bad, and there is a prolonged effect to repeatedly running your head or body into something that's hard or hitting you hard. So physics. And they've paid over $500 million in settlements out, still fighting in court over others. I've known some people that have been personally affected by this and have suffered with medical conditions that are directly related to some of the injuries and situations they've had to go through in the NFL. Again, a lot of guys will say, I'll do it again. I love the game. I'm happy what the game did for me. I wouldn't give that up. That's why I would do it all over again. Some people would say they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't wish for their kids to do it. And again, it comes down to someone's own personal decision, how they want to, what they want to do as far as the playing or their kids playing. But there's a new helmet rule, hitting rule, that revolves around the helmet. It's supposed to be similar to what we see in college football, where with the targeting penalty. Whereas if a player leads with the helmet to initiate contact, that they can be flagged or ejected and or fined for leading with the helmet, because they want to take those helmet shots out of the game. Again, that's part of the game that's already there, a rule that was there, but they're enforcing it a little bit differently. They're testing it out here in the preseason. So at any point in time, either an offensive or defensive or offensive player initiates contact with the helmet, that is supposed to spur a penalty. Now, there has been some pretty remarkable penalties that have been called to this point. Some of them obvious, and a good amount of them just doesn't really compute. You can't really see in any way how they are a penalty as far as leading with the helmet. One of the toughest parts about the rule is leading with your helmet. It's kind of, your head sits on your shoulders, connected by your neck. At least mine does. Maybe you have no neck. It varies from person to person, I think, possibly. But your head's always going to end up going first. Your momentum's going first. Even if you're a ball carrier, one of the first reactions is for you to bend over, to lower your head. A lot of that has to do with, if you can initiate the contact more so with your shoulder pads, you have a higher likeliness of bouncing off the tackle or diverting the force or direction or energy of that tackle and staying upright. Sometimes you doing that can keep you upright instead of falling forwards. So so it's kind of in a split second, the players and referees have all made reactionary decisions based on a split second. And when there's just a habit and a general understanding when it's officiating, they tend to officiate defense. What did they do wrong in these situations, especially at the second level, before they're looking at what did the offensive player do wrong? Where was the penalty there? Because most of the time, I mean, crackbacks, blocking the back, some sort of face mask penalty, it's really all you're getting once you're down the field. So for them to cognitively look at and look for the runner or the ball carrier lowering their head to initiate with the crown of their helmet. And it's tough. Yeah. I mean, how do you determine that in most cases where somebody is just simply trying to get lower pad levels to take the blunt of contact, how do you determine that if they're leading your head? You know, we've seen several different videos, and supposed to have a phone conference tomorrow. The NFL, Players Association, the NFL office, and the officials are going to have a talk. And this is a talk that, frankly, should have came much earlier. Because see, you know, they had the opportunities with the owners' meetings. But before that, they had the opportunity at the combine, and that's where a lot of the stuff they get presented to agents, to players, to coaching staffs, and kind of going over, and NFLPA, and going over, you know, what does this rule look like? How does this rule play out? What do we hope to accomplish from making an adjustment to said rule? Unfortunately, in this case, there wasn't a discussion with the NFLPA. From what my sources tell me, that it's pretty much they said, "Hey, listen, this is what here's an idea," and then it's like, "Oh, yeah, that's it," and then the owners voted on it, and then here we go. So it's like, "Oh, we're doing that." Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it. And there are literally contracts right now that are being held up because this changes. The rule changes the way that the players' pay and career could be affected. So, I mean, if a player is ejected from a game, that could have a substantial impact on your pay, especially with a lot of teams trying to create leverage and have more incentive-driven contracts. And the thing is rookies get squeezed. More than anybody, it's your first opportunity in the league. Rookies get squeezed. You're going to get paid least that you probably will these days, especially since they took off, since they restructured. So contracts there's kind of cap on your contract as a rookie. It's all guaranteed, but there's a cap. So, it's yeah, I'll recap Husker football. I can do that. Yeah, you guys can feel free to message me if you want, or leave comments as well. I'm trying to read them as they come up. But it seems like everybody wants to send it to me on Messenger. See if I can read over here on Messenger. Yeah, I'll recap Husker football. That's no problem at all. No problem at all. But as far as the helmet rule goes, they've made it tough on themselves to really allow flow to the game. They were really in a spot years back because the gripe was that that the league, there's not enough scoring in the league, so the rules are changed for defense. And it's kind of gotten to the point to where they take away certain 5 yards you can bump and they still allow that and how much more frequently do they call pass interference, what's pass interference, what's a catch. They've done a lot of things, and most rules that we've seen over the last decade have been heavily favored towards the offense, improving the offense, allowing them. You can't really hand check or hold like you used to be able to as a cornerback or safety. Yes, I will. No, I'm not really going to talk about Hard Knocks. Primarily because Hard Knocks starts at 10 o'clock and this show starts at 8 o'clock. So when we're going into overtime, that show is ending. Yeah. So I will watch it today or tomorrow, and I'll give you guys a feedback on it again. Probably not at like 4 o'clock in the morning like I did last time. Yeah. What is the 266? Oh, the 266 behind me here. This is episode 266. I've done this show, just this show, not including all the other ones, 266 times. So that's show number 266 altogether. Not I don't have seasons or nothing. Literally, this is the 266th episode of the Cold Hard Truth on Sports Radio show. Great question. What was that? Like, you guys want a tour, or do you guys want me to talk about sports? This is move my big head. Talking about this here. These are credentials. One is for field photography and one's for media. I was awarded both of them. I usually am for the Shrine game. And this was my credential for the national championship game. And these are a couple of credentials I had for Bucks games. Some credentials I got. Those are NCAA football. I'm missing 2011. I don't know if I didn't buy it or I can't find it. But 10, 12, 13, and 14 are right there. Yep. Yes, the games are in there, and no, I don't play them. I don't have a system to play them on. That's PlayStation 3. Back when you didn't have to pay to play people online, and the internet portion was free. It's kind of cool. No, I don't have a gaming system right now. Well, no, I take it back. I do. I had for my kids. I got them a Wii, and they almost never play it. They play on their tablet a couple times a week, ABC mouse. And that is the extent of what my kids play video games. Yeah, I know. Let them play more. They will. They're 5. They have plenty of time in their life to figure out how to play video games. And I'm pretty sure, judging from being a kid at one point and growing up with video games, they will have times in their life that they'll probably just want to do that. This is Florida, so it does get really hot outside sometimes, and you just don't want to be outside, whether you're a kid or not. So, yeah, I make my kids go outside and play. I really do. We have a dog. They can go chase the dog, or dog chase them, whatever. Yeah. Okay, so this is all right. So I want to get back on sports. So if you want to leave your comments on the helmet reactions to the helmet rule, I think they need to go back to what they were doing last season. I'd rather see the fining and stuff than the multiple penalties that they give for this. So yeah, I'd like to see it go back to where it was. I don't think this is. I think it's too much stoppage in the game, and at the same time, there's no consistency at all with the way it's being called. So without some more practice on this, I don't see any way they can really push forward on this. Again, they didn't give officials a whole lot of time to really absorb this, to work on this. I was at the Shrine game, and this isn't something. This is typically like the Shrine game or the Senior Bowl. Some of these bowl games, like the referees, a lot of the referees that are learning, to become pro referees. They've already been in the college ranks. They're working on coming up to levels in the pro ranks, just like the players go from college to the pros. Referees do the same thing. They go from college to pros, and they're practicing too. They're learning how to make the calls. This was not something that they were talking about at the Shrine game or the Senior Bowl. Again, like I said, this is something that really the league, it was the idea that came up, and they kind of presented it in a kind of a rough way, and the owners went and voted on it. And I'd like to think that they're going to vote it out after this, because this isn't helping. Okay. What do I think of Johnny Manziel? I mean, this is it's. Did you mean to say Johnny Manziel? Well, Johnny Manziel plays for the Alouettes. It's been a pretty rough going for him in the CFL, and I mean, at times he's looked okay, but he's getting hit. He's gotten hit a lot in the couple of games that I've seen him in. Hasn't looked all that sharp. Seems to have lost a step. Baker Mayfield. Okay, is that what you meant? The two don't compare. Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel. They just don't compare. The big difference between the two is Baker Mayfield is a professional quarterback in the NFL, as he should be. I had him end of the first, beginning of the second, as high as the middle of the first. Not first overall. I didn't pick him first overall. I got a source was feeding me information that they were leaning that way, but again, you get a lot of information that time of year, and you never know what's. You kind of gotta feel through it to know what's. I'm just saying, if a guy that, if I have him, and many have him, end of the first, beginning of the second, I see guys that had him in the third round. There are scouts that had Baker Mayfield third round or beyond. Not many, but some. I'm just saying, and this is a guy, and then you get fed information. They're leaning maybe him being the first pick. It's kind of like, I don't know about that. So you have to decide what you report, because you're not always given the correct information. Sometimes you're fed information that they want to put out. The fake news. I guess it would be kind of fake news. Yeah. Okay, so for those of you just watching in here on this segment, you didn't hear the beginning of the show. They said that Nebraska, because the question is, what do I think of Nebraska? Putting together an article on this too, so I'm trying to not give the article away, but I want to answer the question. All right, let me pull this up here. Okay, yeah. So it was presented to me, Nebraska had an over-under of 6 wins. Are you over or are you under? I am over. Now, Nebraska does not have an easy schedule. Actually, Nebraska has one of the toughest conference schedules in the country. In the out of conference, it's it's not stellar, but Akron, they have it. It's a like second or third year coach they have. It's decent credentials. It's trying to trend up with Akron. I don't think they're losing to Akron. I think that should be pretty much a win there. Colorado has been trending down since Leavitt left. Since Leavitt left. They've had some good talent come out of there, but they just haven't won football games. So that should be a win. Troy will be a tough one, and but that'll probably be a pretty close game there too. The first really big test that they have will be at Michigan. They have to travel to the Big House, playing Michigan, number 14th ranked. They got Purdue at home, again, trending up. Wisconsin, who I picked to win the Big Ten, they have to go to Wisconsin to play Wisconsin. And then they have Northwestern at home, or they go to Northwestern right after that. Then they have Minnesota at home, who beat them 56-21 last season. So it will be tough going to that point. That's the first 2/3 of the season. They end the season by going their last 4 games by going to Ohio State, back home for Illinois. Then they go to Michigan State, or they got Michigan State at home, and then they have they go to Iowa Black Friday. So yeah, it's pretty tough. They have Purdue, Minnesota, and Illinois, the only 3 teams on their conference schedule that they have, that I've seen other writers and stuff slated below them as far as ranking, wins, season, the way their season's going to go, power rankings, stuff like that. So those are the only 3 teams in conference that writers, sports writers and stuff have seen, analysts have seen, that are lesser teams, 3. So combine that with the out-of-conference schedule, which they're saying are 3 wins. So this is where the over-under, they're coming in at 6. Yes, Iowa, Michigan State, Ohio State, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Michigan are all going to be uphill battles. I think with the changes that Coach Frost has made to this program, I don't see there being any sort of an issue or anything that would get in the way as far as talent, coaching, system, that would be able to get in the way of them winning 8 games. We've seen Michigan slip up against teams we thought they should have beat. Northwestern is a very winnable game for Nebraska. Ohio State, they have slipped up. They got trounced by Iowa. So, and then Michigan State, let's not forget, this is a team preseason last year that nobody had much hope for. But they kind of righted the ship, so now everybody loves them. And they don't play Penn State. Lucky Nebraska doesn't play Penn State. But it could very likely be Penn State and Wisconsin again for the Big Ten championship, and I see Wisconsin winning that championship. Former Husker, a friend of mine, told me about 3 years ago. He said 3 years ago, just before they hired Mike Riley, the year they fired Bo Pelini. He said, I think Nebraska could win a national title, or they will win, rather. They'll win a national title in 5 years. But it will not be with Bo Pelini. And it'll be one of our own. It will be a former Husker. He was clearly talking about Scott Frost. And I know a lot of people that were alumni and part of that fraternity of former Huskers felt that Scott Frost would have been the guy 3 years ago. From what I'm told, he didn't get an interview. Really consideration. That's the reason he went to UCF. He had an opportunity to build a team, which bring all of them with him to Nebraska, of coaches, that is, even some players. But he it gave him an opportunity to not just from when he was at Northern Iowa, when he was at Oregon or UCF, learn how to win, learn how to recruit, but throughout his whole career. He's a very multifaceted guy. He's a very good guy from what I know, from what I've understood. And I think it was the right move. He was the right hire. So that's all I got there. And I will end the show on that tonight. Thank you all for tuning in here to the Cold Hard Truth Radio Show. And seeing us here on the live segment. I'm out. See you next week. Peace.